Today I'll be showing you how to make a crinoline hair fascinator. This is crinoline material. These are artificial flowers. Those are the embellishments. You need your thread and your long needle. This is a thin elastic band. It comes ready-made. You're going to use wet glue, scissors, tape measure or tape rule as your wet glue. So now we're going to start. So crinoline is one of the materials used to make fascinator. This is what it looks like. It's transparent. It also comes in pleated forms as an example, and it comes in different colors. So now we're going to measure out the measurements for the design we're going to use. So I'm measuring 10 inches. I'm measuring 10 inches because we're still going to fold it into two, just like that. Now you can measure something less, like 6 inches, and when you fold it into two, you have 3 inches. It all depends on the size you want to get out of it. So I've gone on to measure an extra one because we're making 2 bows. That's double bows. So now after measuring, I'm cutting it out, and you can see that. Okay, so what I did was that I measured 10 inches in 2 sides and cut it out as one. So we have a total of 20 inches. That's the same thing I'm repeating here, so just watch it carefully. So I stopped at 10 there and I'm measuring out another 10. Now you can decide to cut both of them out, 10 inches separately. It all depends on you. So at the end of the day, you see what we're going to achieve with this. It's something relatively easy, and something you should be able to replicate with ease. So I'm putting aside the remaining crinoline. For the sake of creativity, you can also decide to combine 2 different colors of crinoline. So the next thing is to spread it out, and then measure again to be sure of the center. So that's 20 inches, and the center is 10 inches. So now I'm going to just fold over to meet at the center. I'm going to fold over the other side to meet at the center. So what I've done is to try to ensure that they meet at the center, but they will overlap a little bit. So this is what we're going to use the tape measure. You can make it overlap with 2 inches, or if you're trying to manage your material, you can make it 1.5. It's up to you. So I'm just going to mark where that is and then put it over. And then you measure again to see that it's okay. It's actually 2 inches. It's actually 2 inches. The need for measurements is to ensure that you have something even on both sides at the end of the day. So the next thing to do is to plait. You can make big pleats. That's by simply folding over the edges over one another. So I've done that. That's a big plait. But you can make the plates tiny. It all depends on what you're comfortable with. So I'm making the plates tiny here. So ensure that it's only the middle point that you're pleating, not the whole crinoline. So that's it. So here we go. So I'm going to fold it again for you to look at the different ways in which you can actually bring them together. That's a very big plate. Very big plate. For instance, if you're making several of this, you won't want to waste time folding small plates. So here we go. We have our crinoline bow, the first one. So in order to attach it together, we're going to pass the needle and thread through it and then simply tie it round. The most important thing is that it is being held together strongly such that it doesn't loosen, because crinoline is a very slippery material. It's like if So the two bows are ready. So what I did was just to repeat the same process, and then you have your bow. So the next thing is to arrange it in a unique way. So this is it, such that it looks like one base, but it's something unique. You can also arrange it this way, just place them one on top of one another. It all depends on you. When it comes to being creative, there is no limit to what you can do. I like this double bow design because it's something really unique. So what you're going to do is to try to ensure that the parts that have rough edges are facing one another. So you attach them down and they are covering one another so that you have smooth edges all around. So after doing that, the next thing for you to do is to use your needle and thread to join them to one another. You can also use hot glue. Hot glue is made up of wax, which is heated through what is called a hot glue gun. For very fast products, you can use hot glue gun, but I prefer using needle and thread so that it would actually stick properly. It won't come off at any time. So I'll use needle and thread to tack it together, and I'm going to use hot glue gun to attach it. Now I showed you the wet glue, so note that you cannot use wet glue to attach crinoline. It won't stick. It's only the hot glue that can actually stay. So we use the hot glue and then it's sticking. That is that. Beautiful. Crinoline can be gotten in any art material shop. You can check online for some, for the purchase of crinoline, and we'll be putting together a toolkit to help beginners have access to basic materials like crinoline, and the other ones we'll be doing in the rest of the videos, so that you can actually practice while you learn. If you're interested in the toolkits, simply send an email to me and then we'll get some across to you. So now I'm knotting the thread. It's important to ensure that after all the threading, you knot the ends so that it won't come loose. And then I like knotting with an extra touch, just in case. And you cut it off with your scissors. There you go. You have your base ready. So that is, you can see on both sides, we've tried as much as possible to cover up the loose ends. So where the loose ends are still showing, I'm cutting it off with scissors. Very carefully. You must be very careful with scissors around crinoline because it can cut easily. So this was the measurement of 10 inches on both sides. 10 inches on both sides, or 20 inches at a stretch, folded together. To achieve something smaller than this, you can go for a measurement of 6 inches on both sides or 12 inches on a stretch. Now we're going to use the thin elastic band. This elastic band is sold just like this in the market. It is used for the attachment of bases to the hair, and for some people they can actually use this hair attachment just like that. But here we're trying to create something unique, something special, so we'll always attach a base to this elastic band. So to attach the elastic band to the base, we're going to use needle and thread again. We're just going to tack it a little bit, and you can also use the hot glue to stick it down properly. Like I said, with crinoline, you can be very creative. I've made a double bow here. You can decide to put 2 layers on top of one another. The base can be this 20 inches straight, and then the next one on top of it will be 10 inches straight. At the end of the day, you'll be creating something really unique and beautiful. So I'm looking for the best point to put the Alice band. So I'll attach the iron base first. Attach the iron base first. So you can decide to use just hot glue. You can decide to use just needle and thread. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. However, I like using both. Okay, you can see that it's actually holding with just hot glue. It's actually holding with just hot glue. But for a product to actually really last, because I mean, if it gets spoiled with your clients, there's no way they can fix it themselves. So it's better for you to create something that wouldn't actually get spoiled. So I'm being really careful here to ensure that we don't have a lot of white showing up. You can also decide to use a thread which is the same color as the elastic band. That is black. So that way you won't even get worried about it showing on top. That's right. So if it's a black thread, you won't even be worried at all. But you can always make do with what you have. For those with business labels, you can use your business label to cover up this kind of finishing touch, to just cover it up so nothing shows. In other videos, you will see me using the business label to cover up so many threads. So just stay tuned and continue watching the other ones. So I finished threading it in needle and thread, and I'm going to just tie it up and cut it off. Now that's it. Cutting it off. You can make as many as 3 or 4 of these double bow crinoline fascinators under 1 hour. It is something that is easy to make and is also very fast. Also very fast. So that is that. I've attached it with needle and thread and also hot glue gun. So since that's sticking down. So here we are, we have a plain crinoline base. Now I'm taking away that plainness and adding embellishments to just make it beautiful. So these are artificial flowers. They come in different sizes, but since we're making fascinators for children, we have to be very conscious of the fact that we should go for smaller embellishments. So that is why we're using these tiny flowers. So these artificial sunflowers are very cute. They are appropriate for children's hair accessories. So they have this iron stock sticking out. Some come in iron, some with plastic, hard plastic. So the best thing for you to do is to bend it over. Yes, so that is that. So I'm just going to bend it over. You can see that I'm bending it over. So we're still going to use hot glue on it. So those iron stalks are not even going to come out at all. So I'm spreading out the flower petals. They are so tiny. I'm spreading it out, and then the next thing for me to do is to attach it. Now you can't use a wet glue. You can't use wet glue. It's preferable to use hot glue. You can use wet glue if maybe you have a surface that is actually solid. Crinoline is more like a kind of net. So if you use wet glue, it will pass through the back and then it doesn't really stick. Except if you're actually trying to stick things to one another, like the embellishment. I prefer using hot glue to actually stick it to the flower base. So the first thing I did was to stick it to the center. So I'm trying to cover up all the white threads that are showing and also beautify the fascinator. So here we are, we have white thread showing on this other side. So I'm going to use this last one to cover it up. Now, like I said earlier on, try to be as creative as possible. This fascinator can also be beautified by using about a dozen of these tiny flowers and just spreading it all around it. Believe me, to be something really beautiful and unique also, and childish enough to pass for children's hair accessories. So here we have it. I hope you've learned something new. Do well to practice as often as possible. Thank you for watching. Now we're going to make crinoline fascinator with flower designs. I'm making the flowers out of this crinoline. This crinoline is a pattern crinoline. We're using our tape roll, needle and thread, scissors, elastic. This is not ready made. We might use our wet glue. We'll definitely use the hot glue. So this crinoline is basically the same thing with the green crinoline. The only difference is that it is patterned. So we're going to cut out the crinoline we're going to use to make our flower design. I'm measuring 8 inches. I'm cutting it out. So I already have a cutout sample. So that's what we'll be working with. So I'm checking it again to ensure that it is actually 8 inches. And it is. So we're going to fold it into two. We're going to fold it into two. And then we're going to join all the edges together. You can see it is quite elastic. So we're joining the edges together almost as if we're pleating them, but not quite. We're not pleating them, we're simply going to join them together, just like that. So we're also going to join these edges together. We're going to join it together. So this is unlike the bowl that we just left it open. So this other side too, we're covering it up, we're joining it together. And very simply, we have the making of our flower already. So what we are doing is that we are creating different petals to form one flower. So there's no limit to what you can do. So I just showed here that folding the 8 inches together creates 4 inches. So that's the total length of this. So I'm showing you how to do it again. Bring the edges together. Close up all the edges. And there you go. So you can make as many of these petals as much as possible. You can make up to 8, you can make up to 4, you can make up to 5, 6. It all depends on you. So I'm tying up all the loose ends with a needle and thread. You see that I'm actually using a purple thread such that it blends easily. So I'm going to tie it up properly. So you have to make sure that it's as tight as possible. If it's not tight, it will simply loosen. So after tying it around it, I'm making a strong knot. I'm cutting out the loose ends. And there you go. It looks really pretty. So this is another design you can actually get out of crinoline, aside from the double bow taught earlier on. So you can make as many as possible. You can see I've made so many already. So that's what you have. So you can design it in so many ways. If you want something really big, really flamboyant, you can make as many as possible. But we're keeping in mind that we're making something that children can actually use. And to an extent, as much as it can be beautiful, it should also be quite simple, easy to manage, and something that wouldn't come off easily. So I'm looking at different designs. You know, you can just be very free with what you want to create. So I have four petals here. You can have three, you can have four, you can have six. It all depends on you. So the next thing to do is to determine how to join them together. The best and the fastest way to join them together is to use the hot glue. It might take a while for it to actually stick, but it will eventually stick. So that is why I mentioned earlier that we might use the wet glue and we'll definitely use the hot glue. Wet glue would not really hold this together. If we're using maybe an embellishment with a smooth surface, wet glue will suffice. And then the hot glue, and there you go. So you can see it has not dried totally, but it's getting there. So looking at it, okay, how do we design it? Should we make them face one another on top of one another? It's up to you. At this juncture, you can be as creative as possible. The most important thing is to create something unique, something different. So while this is just a template for you to actually create your own hair accessory, you can also take an extra mile by creating something different. So this is also a petal, but it's a smaller one. So where I measured 8 inches, bent it over to have something of 4 inches. This one is a total of 4 inches and I bent it over to just have 2 inches. So you can make your petals smaller. So I want to spread this out. That's the beauty of covering up all the edges. You can spread it out, and Crinoline is very flexible to work with. So I'm trying to spread it out because I want to use it to cover up all these joints, loose ends, just like that. Absolutely. So that is why I spread it out like that. So with this particular fascinator, we're not using embellishments like artificial flowers or whatnot. So I'm applying extra hot glue to just ensure that it holds firmly. So the pattern of this flower is like a half petal flower, something like that. At this point, you can just be creative and create any name you want. So I'm not making it something round or something full. It's just half. So I'm looking at the best way to put the center point. So that's that. So I have that. So I'm just going to give it some time to dry. So that's what we have. So it's a little bit time consuming if you want to create multiple petals, but it's something that you can also do within a day, less than an hour even. Once you're very familiar with Crinoline, you know how to handle it because it's, like I said in the earlier video, it is very slippery. So now I'm threading my needle, long needle. I prefer using long needle compared to short needles because it is easier to work with. So what I want to do is to attach this elastic band. This elastic band is sold at tailoring shops and such. So we have the tiny elastic band like the one used earlier in the other video, and we have this thick elastic band. So you can use any of them, but I chose to use this one so you are familiar with both types of elastic bands. So now we're going to create the base of the fascinator. This is the base. So it's not just this half flower, we're creating a base. So now we're going to measure 10 inches. I'm measuring 10 inches. Now I'm measuring 10 inches because it is for a child's fascinator, right? It's something that is going to be small. You can also measure 12 inches. It's up to you. However, when you're going beyond 14, 16 inches, 18 inches, 20 inches, you're going to have something really big. that might not be suitable for a child. If you want something smaller also, you can go as low as 8 inches, but you shouldn't go lower than that, so that it will actually form what you need it to form, and that is a half circle. So at this point, we're just going to thread the needle all around the edges of one side. So we're starting with this edge and then taking it to the middle and bringing it to the third part. So we're going to have big pleats. You're not trying to actually sew anything here, you're just trying to bring it together. So just watch the next steps carefully. So crinoline, like I said, is slippery and you have to be very firm in holding it. So I'm making really big pleats. So we start from one side, taking it to the middle, taking it to the middle, and then we're going to finish it up on this third side. So that's the last side. So big pleats, and there you have it. You have half circle. So like I said, if you want something bigger, you just ensure your measurement is longer, that the length is longer. So that's what you have. So you can see the space for a little child's head. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, it's up to you. But just ensure that you tie up all the ends in a very firm manner using your needle and thread. So you tie it up properly and you're through with the base. So unlike the flowers where we had to fold the flowers into two, you're not folding here. You're just going to leave it flat and then thread along the edges. So you're threading from one edge to the other. So we have our base, so you can see the space. So we're going to just attach that end to the end of the base. We're going to just attach it. And as usual, the best form of attaching is your hot glue gun and your needle and thread. So after attaching it, we're going to also attach the elastic band to it. Since this elastic band is not ready made, you're going to have to join it together yourself. So we're going to join it together with needle and thread. And you're joining it to the base because it is from the base you attach it to the head. Yes, so that is it. So that's what we're going to have. So we have attached all three using needle and thread. The elastic band is firm, the flowers are firm, as well as the space for the head. I hope this tutorial was very helpful and you can also practice this on your own. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.